Whoa, story of Family Guy.
Okay, so I know that literally my last full-length commentary on this channel was on Blazed Movie Fan. However, he recently released a video on cartoon reviewer Mr. Enter's review of the infamous Family Guy episode, Screams of Silence, and I did not like it.
I decided to make a disclaimer to say that this is going to be a very angry review. There is no way that I could deal with this particular episode calmly. In fact, I dare even say that I shouldn't deal with this episode calmly. It portrays very serious issues extremely poorly, beyond any excuse that incompetence can come up with. I'll end this disclaimer by saying that the best argument for something is a poor one attempting to go against it.
And this makes a difference from your other reviews. How exactly? Yeah, for those of you who don't know, back then, angry style reviewing was very fucking common. In fact, that is what the nostalgia critic was very famous for back then. And many people made reviews in an angry style, such as the Angry Video Game Nerd and Filmmaster Adam. You get needlessly angry over fiction in a lot of your videos, so I don't see how you're acting any different here. And also this disclaimer is pointless, because most people aren't even gonna care, since it was common back then to get angry at media. But even then, if someone watching did care and finds this problematic, a disclaimer like this is gonna make them find it any less problematic.
You're completely ignoring why someone would have a disclaimer like this, though. Even if angry videos were commonplace back then, someone might still be bothered by someone yelling into the microphone. Speaking from personal experience myself, as an autistic person, yelling makes me feel very uncomfortable. That's not to say that every autistic person behaves in ways that I do. I'm just saying that angriness is inherently negative, and therefore might make the audience feel uncomfortable. So the disclaimer prepares the audience for what they're about to see, much like a graphic imagery disclaimer put in front of a movie.
Also, that sentence that you said at the end, it makes no goddamn sense. What the hell are you even trying to get across here? As for if your point that this episode portrays the issue poorly holds weight or not, we will be getting into that later.
At the end of the disclaimer, he says that the best argument in favor of something is a bad argument against something. That means that if you make a really bad argument in support of something, that might make your opposers dislike it even more. I genuinely don't get how that's confusing.
It seems like just yesterday that I was reviewing Seahorse Seashell Party and its terrible message that it was trying to spread. By far, the most common defense that I've gotten for that and this show is that Family Guy is a comedy, and everything it does should be taken as a joke. No. Family Guy does not get that excuse. Whether it's forced melodrama like Life of Brian or Quagmire's Mom, trying to delve into characters that are nothing more than jokes like in Brian and Stewie, or piss-poor messages about real-world issues like this episode. No, if everything the Family Guy does is a joke, then this one is 22 minutes of a woman being beaten around.
Wow, you're getting way too salty over people defending the show. Is it really that big of a deal? People like Family Guy, get over it. There was absolutely no need to go on such a tangent addressing criticism you get towards what you say about Family Guy.
No. He was getting upset by people's defenses for Family Guy. He has no animosity towards people who simply like Family Guy. And considering how his main criticism of this specific episode is that it handles real-world issues incredibly poorly, he has every reason to bring up the defenses for Family Guy that he keeps getting.
And for the record, I agree with you. Defending the show as just comedy is a poor defense, because just because something is comedy doesn't make it immune from criticism.
Even though he is tackling this defense because Family Guy keeps trying to do not comedy. In his examples, he brought up episodes like Life of Brian, which kills off a character, and Brian and Stewie, an episode with no cutaway gags, which features Brian talking about his attempted suicide. That's what he's getting at. Family Guy doesn't get the excuse of, it's just comedy, because it keeps trying to do non-comedy.
Also, your review of the episode where Brian dies was shit. Because Brian dying in that episode was a legit sad moment.
For you.
I mean, if you don't find it sad personally, that's fine, I respect your opinion. But you said that the episode was trying to manipulate its audience. No! It's just a fucking piece of fiction. It's not real. Seriously, Saying that an episode is trying to manipulate its audience was such a fucking ridiculous thing to say.
Even though he specifically said in that review that the episode was trying to emotionally manipulate its audience through contrived melodrama.
Not only is this episode a miserable excuse for a story, it pulls out every dirty, emotionally manipulative trick to make you feel sorry for a character who lost all likability years ago.
The defense of it's just fiction doesn't apply when fiction is still capable of emotional manipulation. In fact, that was one of his main complaints with Life of Brian.
Stewie goes inside to get his knee pads. Hey, you know what we haven't done yet? Ripped off Road to the Multiverse. A CGI car speeds around the corner and runs over Brian. Wow, look at how much detail they're just throwing into his demise to make it look as painful and miserable as possible to play off your baser emotions. By the way, that's probably the most brutal display on the show that I've ever seen. And that's including Brian Griffin's House of Pain, where Stewie spends the entire episode with his head cracked open.
I mean, I guess media cannot manipulate in the traditional sense, but it can still manipulate. Those oddly terrifying anti-smoking ads are just one such example that comes to my mind. But fine, please. If media cannot emotionally manipulate, then why does the term melodrama even exist?
If that's a joke, then nobody deserves to defend this show.
Hold on, deserves? I don't think that's the right word here. If you said shoot, that would make more sense. But I don't see how deserve is the correct word to use here.
You don't define the difference between these two words though, so your audience members may not know why your word is the correct one. Also, this is literally just semantics, since here, you're more concerned with the wording than with the actual argument. For someone who constantly uses your nitpicking as a point in your own videos, you seem to have no problems with nitpicking yourself. And no, hypocrisy does not make you wrong, but it still does make you a hypocrite.
And on that note, I should bring up the fact that this episode was aired right after Seahorse Seashell Party. A joke or not, that episode told people to stay in abusive relationships for their abuser's benefit.
No, that episode didn't have any message at all. It was saying that Meg Griffin specifically should do that. It wasn't saying it at all about anybody in real life.
But the scene where Brian and Meg discuss how Meg is the lightning rod doesn't really have much comedy behind it. So it can easily be interpreted as a message in the episode, since why else is Family Guy a comedy, not telling jokes?
Give Family Guy credit for trying? No. That's like giving a chef credit for getting out of his seat in a commercial airliner, grabbing the controls, and crashing the plane because he wanted to be an air hero.
That's such a fucking horrible analogy. You're comparing a piece of fiction to something that happens in real life.
Since when did he say that this actually happened? Even then, as long as the comparison makes sense, then it should be a fine enough comparison. Family Guy is a comedy. Its purpose is to make someone laugh. Tackling a serious subject like domestic abuse is stepping away from what it strives to do. A chef makes food. That is his purpose. Him trying to land a jet and then crashing a plane is him stepping away from what he's best at.
The worst that bad entertainment can do is just not be good. Big deal. That's not even close to comparable to something bad happening in real life.
Bad entertainment can shock, disturb, and give bad messages, as Inter said. It is up to us whether we take these messages or not, but if these messages are still bad, then that can still be seen as concerning. A lot of media is made with messaging in mind. A lot of media has real-world ideas applied to the writing. This is what is known as theming, and disregarding the very concept of theming is going to be a major problem with this video.
No one was asking Family Guy to do this. No one wanted Family Guy to do this. Everyone but the staff apparently knew that this was beyond Family Guy's range.
You're being way too overdramatic here. It's not that big of a deal. And there is also one thing that you seem to be overlooking. It's not just the fact that Family Guy is a comedy show. It's also a dark comedy. Meaning that making fun of serious situations is the fucking point.
But is this episode specifically a dark comedy? In this episode, the fact that Brenda is being beaten up is taken seriously. She's given advice on her abuse and others worry about her. Where is the dark comedy in that?
No one praises civilians for jumping over police lines to stop a hostage situation.
I Again, it's a piece of fucking fiction. Why do you keep comparing it to real life?
Because Family Guy is doing something outside of its capabilities in Enter's opinion. He can still compare it to something very real as long as the comparison works and it makes sense.
Considering I want to get to the point here, filler, Quagmire nearly kills himself with erotic self-asphyxiation, more filler.
You're strawmanning this episode. None of what you brought up is filler. It all connects to the story and serves a purpose.
How though? Are you actually going to give us a synopsis of what happens so we as an audience can know how the beginning ties into the episode? Or can you show us some clips at the very least? Because I guarantee that some people in your audience have not seen this episode. I haven't seen this episode, and I don't need to in order to know how bad this video is. Not Enter's video, but yours. Also, part of a debate is being correct, but another part of a debate is convincing your opponent and the people who side with your opponent that they are wrong. You can claim that the video is just your opinion and you're not trying to make a big statement, but you clearly are, since you are essentially saying that he is misinterpreting the episode.
And then we learn that Quagmire's sister is coming with her boyfriend, who badly abuses her because they're okay with just bringing that up in a conversation on, like, you know, real people.
That's not what happened in the episode. They didn't bring it up out of fucking nowhere for no reason. They brought Brenda up because she's Quagmire's sister and she was gonna make it to see her brother at the hospital.
You know what would help here? A clip from the episode. You can claim that you cannot play a clip because of copyright, but largely unedited Family Guy snippets get uploaded to YouTube all the time without any consequences. So surely you can put a short clip here, as you do in some of your own episode reviews.
Still with him? Isn't he the one that beats her?
Yeah, but she's gotten a lot better.
A lot better? At what? Taking punches? Oh wait, she's gotten better after the beatings her abusive boyfriend gave her. I get it now. That's horrible!
You're totally taking this line out of context. She's obviously concerned about how she feels, and they're referring to how she should feel better.
People saying this is out of context without the original context being provided is becoming my new pet peeve when it comes to commentaries.
Let's talk about Brenda. There's not a single way you could portray the victim of domestic abuse in a more degrading way. Let's start with the obvious. They display Brenda as being psychologically damaged, and they make it sort of clear that Jeff was the one who damaged her. Okay, what did she ever see in Jeff in the first place?
Alright, this is a legit complaint. This episode would have been better if it showed what she saw in him in the first place.
Ah yes, the good old Blaze the Movie fan form of positive critique, where you say that the point is good without any reason as to why it is good. Any reason beyond just reiterating the original point, I mean. I get the idea of giving positive critique, but you need to give some form of reasons behind why Enter is right. You know, besides just stating his original point. Also, but Blaze, I thought you said that Family Guy was just dark comedy. You see how much that bites this point? How can it just be dark comedy if you're supposed to establish why Jeff and Brenda ever loved each other in the first place? That sounds like some serious storytelling to me.
Because Family Guy loves to be over the top, Brenda doesn't seem blind to Jeff's abuse. She seems blind to reality. More or less, they portray her as an idiot who just chooses to stay in this abusive relationship.
I wouldn't exactly say that she is an idiot. Misguided, sure, but she isn't exactly an idiot.
I guess the positive critique thing applies to negative critique as well. Like, at least Enter actually says why she's an idiot. Because she's blind to reality. How is she simply misguided?
Also, we are supposed to feel bad for her. The episode is in no way, shape or form trying to portray the abuse as a good thing. You're supposed to want her to get out of this abusive relationship. We're supposed to feel bad for her.
Ignoring how you pointlessly said that you're supposed to feel bad for her twice, how is this a point? Like, this would only make sense if Enter said that you're not supposed to feel bad for her, but he never said that. You can still feel bad for an idiot.
Most abuse happens behind closed doors, and unfortunately, as much as I wish it were the case, not all abusers are idiots. They can be very smart psychopaths, and they have a knack for manipulating other people.
Except the episode doesn't say that all or most abusers are like that. It's saying that this abuser specifically is like that.
And this is the main problem with this video. So much of it writes off this episode of Family Guy as just a piece of fiction. That excuse cannot work when the episode wants to tackle a very real issue. And the episode wants to do that since there are attempts at drama. If you want to tackle very real subject matter, you have to treat it with some form of realism. If Jeff is written as an idiot who beats his wife in public, then it's hard to take the episode seriously. It comes off as melodramatic more than anything else. And to enter, it's not something with an insightful and serious message.
What I'm saying is that no one casually beats their spouse in public. They wait until they get home, where no one else can see their behavior.
Now, I don't know much about how the real world operates,
Would it be rude to say this part almost made me laugh?
so I'm not sure if this is true or not. But I have to say this. This isn't supposed to represent real life. I mean, this is the fucking Family Guy universe we're talking about. It's full of people who are either crazy or idiots. So, why the hell are you expecting people to act like people normally do in real life?
Because of the episode's tone.
Also, I already said this, so I won't go on too long about it. Being serious doesn't really work when every 5 minutes you pop up with something random shouting, "Haha, this is pointless."
I get your fucking point. You don't like Family Guy humor. Will you please stop hammering it in?
Nope, his point wasn't with Family Guy's humor itself. It was that it's hard to take something seriously when it's constantly flinging jokes at you.
Joe, can't you just arrest the guy?
I can't arrest Jeff unless Brenda files a formal complaint with the police.
She won't go to the police. She's afraid of what Jeff will do.
Hey guys, you know what the definition of irony is? Well, here's the funny thing. What Joe just said is not true for exactly the scenario that they're conveying. If someone is getting their ass beaten in plain view of everyone, then yes, the police have the right and the duty to step in.
I mean, the law in the free world is very unfair. Again, I don't know much about how the real world operates, but from what I know from the internet, there are a lot of criminals in real life who are roaming around free. Also, Joe can't really arrest Jeff because he has no proof that he is beating her up in public. From what we see, all he does is bring an asshole towards her in public. And being an asshole is inappropriate for sure, but it's not against the law.
But Joe still has witnesses, so he has some form of proof. Peter, Lois, and Quagmire all have seen Brenda being abused, so Joe does have witnesses.
By telling people that the law is useless in this scenario, you're telling people not to go to authorities and take the law into their own hands.
No, this episode doesn't have any message at all.
Then why is the tone so dismal for a comedy? Why does it seem like it wants to tackle real issues? Furthermore, how do you know this? The only way you could know the writer's exact thoughts is if you listen to the director's commentary. But you keep going on, denying any sense of seriousness in the episode, as if you were a child, plugging your ears and going la 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 la. This video is incredibly insensitive. I know it wasn't supposed to be that way, but when you keep acting like nothing can mean anything because it's just a comedic work of fiction, never mind the fact that comedies can still have messages behind them, how else am I supposed to feel besides incredibly bitter?
Honestly, I'm gonna have to be blunt here. If you use a piece of fiction as a teaching tool on what to do in real life, it's your own damn fault. And it shows that you're taking a piece of fiction far too seriously. You aren't supposed to mimic what you see in movies or television, especially if it's a fictional story. The entertainment is there for you to enjoy it. Honestly, that's a problem with most of your Family Guy reviews. You talk so much about how these Family Guy episodes have bad messages instead of focusing on if the story or characters of the episode are good or not. That is the biggest problem with all of our Family Guy reviews.
Sure, let's just ignore the fact that the concept of theming even exists. Let's just ignore how pieces of media still aim to connect with an audience. It doesn't matter if a piece of media has bad messages, it's all just a piece of fiction. Legit, I hated this video up until now, but this was the part of the video that cemented it as one of the worst videos videos I've seen this year so far. Because this right here is you writing off someone's problems because, oh, it's your fault if you take media too seriously. Not every piece of media has a message, but a lot of them still do. And a lot of them strive to have an audience connect with them. So for an episode to be melodramatic and go on and on and on and on about domestic abuse to the point where another reviewer, Media Mementos, labels this episode as a wannabe Hallmark movie, how can you just sit there, pick out your own ass, and make excuses?
Brenda, you're not fine, okay? Please, I'd like to say something if I may. Brenda, the fact that you are being abused has affected my life in the following ways. The sister that I knew and loved growing up no longer exists. The person I see before me now is just a punching bag. And I call you person and not woman because a woman is a strong, beautiful, vibrant creature. A woman embraces life. A woman makes choices to make her life better. Sadly, the fact that you are with Jeff proves to me that you have made a choice to make your life worse. I want the girl I grew up with back. I want my sister back.
Okay, all bets are off. Where do I even begin? Let's start with you, Quagmire. How this has affected your life. You're a convicted sex offender, constantly treating women like objects. You are not one to talk. No one gives a goddamn shit what you think or how this affects you.
Wow, that was very insensitive. Now I get that Glenn Quagmire is an asshole, that goes without saying. But that's no excuse to act so insensitive towards how he is feeling here. There are many times when Glenn Quagmire absolutely is in the wrong. But this isn't one of those times.
What? Quagmire literally just diminished her role as a woman and called her a punching bag because she is being abused. He said that she wasn't a woman because she was being harassed. How can you say that he is correct for this? He took her status as a victim and made it about him, almost as if that was Enter's point. That Glenn would rather focus on how the situation affected him rather than the victim, making him selfish. Not only that, but you claim that this episode has no message and that it's just dark comedy, only to say that Quagmire is correct, implying that there is some sort of point to the episode that goes beyond comedy. But how can there be a point beyond comedy when it's just a dark comedy with no message? My head, it hurts.
Are you really unable to ignore the fact that you don't like someone to see when they are in the right? That's fucking pathetic. As a reviewer, you should know better.
Ah yes, it's so pathetic that Enter called out Quagmire for being selfish.
But let's go on a little bit further. This entire episode conveys Brenda as incredibly damaged by Jeff's abuse. So saying that this is her fault is one of the most flagrant examples of victim blaming that I've ever seen.
This wasn't victim blaming.
Yes it was. Glenn literally just said that it was all her choice to make her life miserable. He said that she's a punching bag. He said that she's not a woman because she was being abused. How is that correct? How is that not victim blaming? You know what? I'm ending it here. I genuinely have no final thoughts besides, please, have some freaking tact.